I know all of you that are here, but if not, I am Eastlyn Wright. I am the program coordinator for Buy Fresh, Buy Local Nebraska. I've been in this role since May of last year, so in this position about 9 months now. When I signed up for this spot, I was like, I'm totally gonna have Buy Fresh, Buy Local figured out, and I'm gonna know all the things and be able to do such a great presentation for you all about how we're moving forward. And unsurprisingly, like there are still things up in the air. There are still some decisions that need to be made, but I'm going to give a presentation about the projects that I've been working on within the last year, and then just kind of talk about where I see opportunities for Buy Fresh, Buy Local to connect. So anyways, um, so Buy Fresh, Buy Local Nebraska has these four main goals, which is keeping the food chain shorter, transparent, sustainable, educating on the social, environmental, and economic benefits of eating locally, improving wellness, and promoting quality of life by healthy in-season eating, and cultivating a future for Nebraska's family farms by expanding the market for locally produced foods. Where does Buy Fresh, Buy Local fit in UNL? It is part of the Agricultural Economics College, who um, says their mission is to improve decision making by private officials, private producer or public officials, private producers, and agribusiness by giving economic information and tools. And then also, I am part of the Nebraska Cooperative Development Center. So, believing in the cooperative business model to increase our power for quality of life and economic vitality in rural Nebraska. So Buy Fresh, Buy Local fits into the goals of these two organizations by providing resources, opportunities for collaboration, increasing the quality of life in rural Nebraska through supporting local, and address economic and health outcomes through providing local food options. So the main thing that you all might be familiar with Buy Fresh, Buy Local is this local food guide. It's something that's been produced annually. Buy Fresh, Buy Local is in its 19th year. It started as a as a rural cooperative grant with the RC&D um, and was a part-time position that somebody was putting together this local food guide. They were trying to pool resources from local producers and small businesses as a way to create a larger marketing campaign. That is the way that we've continued to go forward. However, the way that the grant is currently written, that part of my funding comes under is not favorable for working with a member-oriented group. And so also the cost of production for the local food guide has gone up. And then thinking about 19 years ago when this local food guide was kind of the original, you know, portion or creation of Buy Fresh, Buy Local, there were a few things that are way different than our current situation. Buy Fresh, Buy Local was a national organization that had chapter members, and that UNL was one of those chapter members. And so it offered different support and marketing opportunities that are no longer available to us. That national organization is no longer intact. And so that's something that's changed since 2021. So there's been some thinking around how to navigate that and if Buy Fresh, Buy Local is still the name that people recognize or how this is marketed exactly. And then also the cost for producers or small businesses to be members of Buy Fresh, Buy Local is something that we've always been really conscious of and wanted to, make it accessible, but that the cost of printing has increased significantly, and the ability for people to access information via the internet is different. And so, is it in our best interest to continue with the local food guide as a directory in the way that it has been in the past? Or is it an opportunity for us to highlight particular stories with producers, but also if we're not a member organization going forward, or if that's not the way that we're able to continue, um, then how would those different producers be selected for that promotion? And it's not something that we are totally abandoning or totally have made decisions on at this point. It's just kind of giving you some information about why these conversations are happening or why these things are looking a little bit different than they have for the past 19 years. I do want to note that we have sent out a survey that just closed yesterday for our members to see where they have found the most value in being members, and that something that really stood out was that the printed and online local food guide was like the biggest benefit or the place where people found a lot of value. And so now it's figuring out how to either fund that continually or figure out like how that works in our system. So just to recap, this is the way that we were initially funded, or the project that Buy Fresh, Buy Local was initially funded for, and allowed somebody part-time to be able to have that position. This position is now full-time, and that is through partnering with other organizations on several different grants. And so I'm going to go through the different grants and projects that Buy Fresh, Buy Local has been working on in addition to the local food guide. So Buy Fresh, Buy Local has hosted local food showcases in 2024. There were two. We had put out an application for different different areas in Nebraska to participate in the local food guide or local food showcases rather. It is through a grant through the specialty crop block grant through Nebraska Department of Agriculture. Last year we were able to host those in Beatrice and Grand Island. And then those will continue at those two locations for the next 2 years, so in 2025 and 2026, and then also at Wildflower Grocer. And we are able to purchase local food, have a chef make samples of those local foods, and just talk about the benefits. That's something that Skylar Falter has been working on as her primary project. Skylar Falter was previously the Buy Fresh, Buy Local program coordinator, and has remained with Buy Fresh, Buy Local in some capacity for a number of years, and is working pretty part-time and focusing a lot on the local food showcases, but has also been sending out a lot of the communication to producers who are members. So shout out to Skylar for all of her good work. One of the other projects that Buy Fresh, Buy Local has been working on is the Farmers Market Promotion Grant program, which is through Center for Rural Affairs. So this is actually the second iteration that Buy Fresh, Buy Local has received this grant. The first iteration was when Margaret Milligan was in the position, and Ben Jewell was also on that grant, and they produced a guide for setting up farmers markets in rural Nebraska that was based off of a guide that we were able to seek information from Iowa. But the second iteration, we are working with 5 farmers markets each year, and are able to offer them technical assistance. They receive a little bit over $1,000 for participating. Some of that is funding for market managers and vendors to be able to attend those technical assistance trainings. There is some money for them to be able to buy supplies or spend on marketing. We currently have this grant open, this application open. So if you know of a farmer's market that could benefit from this, the application is open until Friday, February 28th. And I will share a link in the chat for that application. And it also describes a little bit more about the program and the benefits for participating. Also working with Center for Rural Affairs on a producer and grocer cohort. So this is being funded through the Sherwood Foundation. And they were able to provide an opportunity for a producer cohort. So we've had 15 different producers. There are people who have honey, someone who's making granola, there are livestock producers, and then there are specialty crop producers, eggs, and we're offering a 6-session online course, having different speakers talk about scaling up for grocery sales, and talking last week we had, or just yesterday, I guess, was our most recent session. We had Andrew Beavers talk about his journey from going from a farmer's market vendor to being just completely wholesale, and some of the things that he's learned through that. We are able to offer a $300 stipend for those cohort members to participate, which feels really good to be able to offer people some money for their time. Then we are also in tandem having a grocer cohort that is targeting community-owned or supported grocery stores in Nebraska. I believe we have 18 that have signed up. Those courses will begin next week. And part of that provides a $15,000 grant to those grocers to spend on something that could hopefully increase their longevity or cut back on some costs associated with working in a rural area. I'm also get a small portion of my funding from Nebraska Farm to School. We are just starting to work through a subcommittee of a network development focused on local procurement that I am co-leading with Gary Fear. So we are working to create goals and hopefully come up with a project that can benefit procurement here in the state, specifically with Nebraska Farm to School. I do receive some funding from Nebraska Nutrition Education Program to talk about SNAP education and double up food bucks. So there have been some changes with the double up food bucks program. Not sure how many of you are aware that Nebraska had applied for GusNUP funding, which is generally how we've been able to run that program, and that the funding was not secured this year. And so for the first time, there are a couple private foundations that are interested in working in particular areas of the state. Tara Dunker is fairly new to working with Double Up Food Bucks, and so I am assisting with the farmers market side of things and kind of being a liaison between the farmers market managers and the Double Up Food Buck system, and also just really being cognizant of tracking and seeing where those double up food bucks are being redeemed and most used. Also, just wanted to highlight Discovery Days. That's something that Buy Fresh, Buy Local has participated in. We will continue to participate in those 3 dates in June, July, and August have been set. And I spoke with Jordan Slage, who said that they are particularly interested in having produce growers attend Discovery Days and be able to sell. And in the past, they've had 1 or 2, and that they always sell out. So if anyone is a producer or knows of a producer that might benefit from participating in Discovery Days and being able to sell produce, please either let me know or let them know about Discovery Days and get in contact with Jordan. I know that the application for those markets is open now. And then lastly, I just want to highlight that myself, Rulon, who's on this call, Sarah Smith, who previously worked for Nebraska Department of Education in the farm to school position, and now is a liaison for USDA and the Heartland Regional Food Business Center, and Ben Jewell, also Brock, he's been on this call. We have been going to different USDA service centers and making visits and having conversations about services that are available at the USDA service center. And how we might be able to increase small scale producers' interactions with them. So that's something that we've seen a lot of value in. It seems a little bit like a chicken and egg situation where small scale producers don't really see themselves fitting into these service centers. And so if we are able to talk about the services that are available to those producers and encourage them to go into the service center or start those conversations, that we can just all be better connected and understanding kind of the landscape that we're in.